Adrian Cole had mastered diplomatic protocols for 73 alien species, could navigate trade negotiations in 12 languages, and had successfully mediated 3 border disputes without starting wars. But 3 months into his posting at the crystalline palace of Velaris Prime, he still couldn't manage 5 minutes in Queen Thessara Moonwhisper's presence without his brain short-circuiting. The Ashiran Monarchy governed 70 systems with elegant precision, their culture built on elaborate protocols that made human diplomatic training look like kindergarten finger painting. At the center of it all was the queen, tall, graceful, with long sweeping ears that caught every whisper and eyes like molten silver that seemed to see straight through diplomatic masks into uncomfortable truths. Adrian started avoiding her systematically, skipped functions where she'd preside, took longer routes through the palace to dodge chance encounters, volunteered for field assignments that kept him blissfully distant from the throne room. His evasion worked for exactly 6 weeks before it became obvious enough that even the Queen's advisors noticed. "The human liaison shows disrespect," Lord Kelvin observed during a council session, his tone carrying disapproval. "He engages with lesser court members but flees Her Majesty's presence." Thessara said nothing, but her silver eyes tracked Adrian's movements through the palace with an intensity that made her attendants nervous. Finally, she sent a summons he couldn't politely decline: private audience in her observatory. No advisors, no protocol officers, just the 2 of them and whatever explanation he could manufacture for behavior that looked increasingly like prejudice. Adrian stood before the observatory doors and seriously considered faking a diplomatic emergency. Cowardice lost to professional obligation by the narrowest margin. The observatory was intimate in ways official court functions never were. Crystal walls revealed stars beyond, and Queen Thessara stood silhouetted against infinity, somehow both part of the cosmos and separate from it. She didn't waste time with diplomatic pleasantries. "Why do you avoid me, human?" Her voice carried edges beneath the royal composure. "Your colleagues engage freely with my court. You participate in cultural exchanges, attend functions with lesser nobility, but the moment I enter a room, you discover urgent business elsewhere. Explain this behavior." Adrian fumbled for diplomatic answers, cultural differences, not wanting to overstep boundaries, respecting her exalted position. Each excuse sounded weaker than the last. Thessara cut through them with regal impatience. "I want truth, not careful political phrases. Why do you flee my presence?" Cornered by her insistence and exhausted by his own evasion, Adrian told her something nobody had apparently ever said to her face. "I avoid you because your beauty and power leave me speechless. Because when you're near, I can't think properly. Because looking at you feels like staring into something too magnificent to approach casually. I stay away not from fear or disrespect, from awe that I don't know how to handle professionally." The confession hung between them. For several heartbeats, Thessara didn't respond, her silver eyes wide with genuine shock. Then something extraordinary happened. The Queen, who had commanded respect through 3 centuries of reign, who had negotiated with hostile empires without flinching, blushed. The faint color rising in her cheeks was the first crack Adrian had seen in her perfect royal composure. She dismissed him without another word, leaving him certain he just destroyed his diplomatic career with the most awkward confession in human-alien relations history. Adrian expected immediate transfer requests or formal censure. Instead, something stranger happened. The Queen started appearing in places he frequented: the diplomatic archives where he researched protocols, the meditation gardens during his off hours, the observation decks when he escaped court formality. She never announced herself, just showed up, creating opportunities for conversation that felt accidental but clearly weren't. Their interaction started cautiously. She asked about human customs surrounding beauty and attraction, clearly trying to understand his perspective. Adrian learned that Ashiran royalty were raised as living symbols, untouchable, revered from distance, never approached with personal desire. In 300 years of rule, Thessara confessed during an evening in the palace gardens, nobody has spoken to me with the honesty you showed. Advisors speak in political language. Suitors approach with strategic intent. Subjects worship from afar. But you, she paused, her long ears angling toward him with something like wonder. You told me I was beautiful with no agenda beyond managing your own awkwardness. The conversations grew longer, more personal. They discussed loneliness of position, the weight of being symbols rather than people, universal isolation that comes with power regardless of species. Adrian realized he was seeing the person beneath the crown, someone curious, surprisingly funny when she let her guard down, capable of warmth her public role never permitted. Thessara began to understand what she was feeling wasn't just curiosity about alien perspectives. It was genuine connection to someone who saw her as more than a political figure. And that realization terrified her more than any military threat ever had. Lord Kelvin approached Adrian privately, concern wrapped in diplomatic courtesy. Ashiran law forbids emotional entanglement between royalty and commoners, especially alien commoners. Such connections destabilize the monarchy's sacred position. If the queen's feelings become public, noble houses will see her as compromised. You should request immediate transfer. Adrian knew Kelvin was right. The smart move was extraction before this became an incident damaging both their worlds. But when he tried discussing transfer with Thessara during their evening conversations, she stopped him with directness that cut through all protocol. I know what Kelvin told you. I know the risks. She stood at the observatory windows, stars wheeling beyond. I've spent 3 centuries being the perfect monarch, making every decision for my people's good, never allowing personal desire to influence duty. And I'm tired. Her voice carried weight of accumulated loneliness. You questioned why I confronted your avoidance, because your absence left emptiness I didn't know I could feel. For the first time, someone saw not a queen to revere, but simply someone beautiful. That honesty awakened something I thought my species incapable of. Adrian pointed out the obvious. Acting on this could destabilize her throne, damage Earth-Asheran relations. Thessara's response was carefully considered. Or it could show my people that strength doesn't require isolation. That connection across species isn't weakness but evolution. She offered him a choice. Request transfer and they'd return to professional distance, or stay and explore this connection openly, accepting whatever consequences followed. The decision, she insisted, must be entirely his. Adrian thought about the safe choice, the diplomatic choice, the career-preserving choice. Then he thought about the woman before him, powerful, lonely, brave enough to risk her throne for genuine connection. I came here to build bridges between our peoples, he said finally. Maybe this is just a different kind of bridge than anyone expected. What followed was careful, deliberate courtship conducted under galactic scrutiny. Thessara appeared publicly with Adrian, not hiding their connection. Political ramifications were immediate. Some noble houses cried scandal, others saw opportunity. Earth's diplomatic corps panicked, then cautiously supported when they realized the Queen's favor gave humanity unprecedented influence. At a formal state function weeks later, Thessara's hand briefly touched his, sending ripples through the assembled court. She leaned close, whispered for his ears alone, "You still leave me speechless sometimes." His response was quiet, meant only for her long ears. "Good. I'd hate to be the only one struggling with awe here." They faced uncertain futures, potential challenges, endless complexity of an unprecedented relationship. But standing together under the crystalline ceiling, they'd proven something neither species expected. Sometimes the most powerful choice is allowing yourself to be vulnerable with someone who truly sees you beyond all the titles and carefully maintain distance. And sometimes honesty, offered with no agenda beyond managing awkward feelings, can reshape entire civilizations.